There's a spirit in the foothills, on the valleys and the streams. It's our hope for the future. It's our Appalachian dreams. It's in our art, in our music, and the stories that are told. It's the spirit of the foothills. It's our Appalachian soul. Just neighbor helping neighbor, reaching out to lend a hand, having someone you can count on, being there to be a friend. The legacy of those before us, passing on the things we know. It's the spirit of the foothills. It's our Appalachian soul.
Hello, this is Brian Joseph, and on behalf of myself and Chad Urick, we'd like to welcome you to Artists Around You. We're here at the beautiful Naz Winery, and we'd like to thank them for their generosity and allowing us to film our interview here with Mr. Ken Willis, a singer-songwriter, fantastic guy who's just a real original, and he'll be here. We'll talk to him a little bit, and we'll have him play some tunes. I'll have the honor of playing a tune or two with him, and we have Mr. John Victor here with us also, Mr. Harmonica himself. So stick around while we do our interview, and we'll have some songs here for you. What I'd like to talk to Ken about, I've known Ken for a while. I first met Ken at Stagecoach.
Right.
It was a open mic.
Englishman John's open mic.
Englishman John's open mic. It was South Bloomfield, right there on the highway. It's no longer there, but we had a lot of good times there, and we had a lot of good songwriters come in through there, and Ken was one of the best. And so as far as what you need to know about Ken, from our many discussions, I know that you were a drummer first.
I was a drummer in high school, or in school.
In school? Uh-huh.
Yeah. I started in the 6th grade. I went out to Huntington High School, which at the time was the poorest school district in the state of Ohio. Mm-hmm. But because we couldn't afford football or any big sports, we had the largest band in Ross County, even bigger than CHS's. Mm-hmm. And played drum, in junior high, and then by the time I was freshman in high school, I became first chair drummer, and played all through high school, all county also drummer, and till I went to my first bluegrass festival.
The Bluegrass Festival. Where was it at? Do you remember?
I can't really remember. It was somewhere local. It was country and bluegrass. I just graduated from high school. Some friends of mine were putting a country band together. They knew I played rock music. I'd played different things, and they wanted a drummer. And I'm Mr. Cool. I don't want to play, country music or anything. But they took me to this festival, and it was country and bluegrass. The country I'd heard because my dad played it all the time. Bluegrass was new to me. I mean, sort of blew me away. Man, I loved it. It was something about touching my Appalachian roots, I guess. But a few months later, I sold my drums and never picked up a stick again because there wasn't any drums. Broke my heart. There wasn't any drums in bluegrass.
Yeah. So you had a whole kit, and you were playing
Bloodwigs. Yeah, I played.
Yeah.
In fact, I mentioned our high school band. We had a 17-piece dance band that was part of that. We played at the Elks. We played country clubs. We also had a Dixieland band. I played, played different styles.
So
and played rock music.
So you had all this training in high school and all this, and then all of a sudden you just drop all that and you pick up the guitar.
No.
No?
I didn't play anything for probably 3 or 4 years. no instruments at all. I quit college in my sophomore year to get into a 4-year apprenticeship down at the atomic plant in Piketon. And there were several of us apprentices. One guy that I became really good friends with, he was 4 years older than me. He had a brother my age, but he was 4 years older than me. He had been in the Marine Corps, he'd been to Vietnam, he was a sergeant, you know, he had all, his experiences were totally different than mine, but somehow we hit it off. But then, and him and his brother played music together, his brother being my age. His brother then joined the Marine Corps. But then he came home on leave and was in a motorcycle accident and killed himself. A few months later, we were going out to the parking lot, and Lonnie said, I got something I want to give you. I said, what's that? And he handed me this old guitar. I said, what's this? He said, it's my brother Keith's guitar. He said, I want you to learn to play it. I said, so that I have someone to play with. You know, and I felt obligated to do it. So, you know, I went home and I got some books and I learned a few chords, you know, and then I bought this Beatles Big Note 50 songs, you know, and I finally got where I could play a little bit, and I bought my own guitar and gave it back to him. So then, you know, I kind of got into listening to more of a folk rock. I listened to a lot of John Denver and Gordon Lightfoot and that sort of thing. And then the next big step is a few years later. Well, of course, I got married, but then
Big step. Yeah.
that was a big step. But another life-changing event, I went on a raft trip in West Virginia. And man, did I get hooked on paddling whitewater. And so I told my wife, said, I'll no more softball a couple nights a week, no more golf, but I'll probably be gone every other weekend. And went all over the place on different rivers. And usually in the evenings, after we would spend a day on the river, we'd gather around a fire and several guys would bring guitars and we'd start playing music. And so that's where I really started playing more. And it's also where I started writing music. Because we would sit and we were playing covers, and I thought, well, yeah, but we don't sing anything about what we do. So I just started writing what I called river songs. I rarely play them anymore because they were more specific to people that knew what, you know.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is, there's a ton of cover material out there. You don't have to write your own songs. There's all kinds of stuff out there that people would love to hear as they're sitting around a campfire. But, you know, what got you into writing your own stuff? And so
that started it. But you have to know I'm kind of stubborn about, you know, I built my own house. You know, when I'm out fishing, I don't want anybody telling me, you know, I see people, I go to their house and they got some big fish hanging on the board, where they went on a guided trip and the guy said, throw right there. Well, my kid could do that, you know. I would rather fail miserably on my own trying to learn to do things than have someone else do it, you know. And there are, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of great cover songs. Everyone has favorites, and I do. There's songs I love to play, but I'd rather play my own.
Now, you were talking about when you're out there camping and things like that, and you want to write a song. Now, when you write a song, I know that you have some notebooks, little things, little hook book, and so that you can kind of fall back on some things you've thought about in the past that might pique your interest about writing. So when you write a song, are you writing together with your guitar? Or do you sit down and write it and then thought, okay, now how am I going to have my guitar accompany this?
See, as my dad used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, all the above. I've written songs different ways. As a rule, I'm a hook guy. You know, always start with the hook, and you write to the hook. You know, all your verses refer back to the hook. And then the second part of that is what's the mood of the song? Is it a sad song? Does it need to be played in minors? Is it something happy? You know, so you kind of incorporate what I call prosody, where the two match up. You want the two to agree with each other. Yeah, you wouldn't want to sing "Happy Birthday" to a funeral dirge. You know, so they have to kind of. But I usually start with the hook, and I'm a lyrics guy. I mean, I love listening to lyrics.
Now, I know when you talk about your lyrics guy, I know that you have spent some time in workshops. I know you talk a lot about going to some workshops that have been very good for you and challenging you to write a different kind of song.
I know there was a group down in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Dayton Songwriters. They were an NSAI, Natural Songwriters Group. I just happened to see it on the internet, so I started going down there, and they were a real welcoming group, really nice. It was all about songwriting, and each week that you kind of do, each month, I guess, there was like 4 things would go on. They might have lessons one week, and maybe bring someone from Nashville down to talk about songwriting. Another thing we'd do is you would bring in a song that you just wrote and get it critiqued. And the first thing they'd tell you is, we're critiquing the song, not you. Don't be too thin. They hammered the first song I ever brought in there. But you learn a lot because they're telling you where your weaknesses are at, where you can, you have little strengths and stuff. Another thing that we would do is one week you would go in and you would come up with a hook or title for a song, and you put it on a piece of paper and you put it in a hat. And then you put your name in another hat. And what they would do is they would pull names out and they'd say, like, can you and Brian have 30 minutes to write a song titled, and you had, or 90 minutes, I think it was. You had 90 minutes, then you had to play it. And what I loved about that is, over a period of time, you worked with a lot of different people. And everybody had different ways to approach it. And you would steal, hey, I like the way he does certain things. And so it helped in the songwriting by being able to do that. And then usually one day a month, we would all get together and play in some bar, in a big circle, and just play our tunes. And that's kind of the way it went. But learned a lot from that group.
Okay. Great. I know, I like hearing your stories about some of the songwriting stuff, and I know that you probably are falling back on a lot of stuff you learned from that, as well as just your experiences camping and paddling and stuff like that. Now, there's one question that always bugs me when you're out paddling or floating, or whatever you want to call it. Your guitar. How do you protect your guitar? Or is it you leave your guitar at a base and go out and paddle and then come back near your guitar? Is there, or you're taking it in your boat?
Normally, you're in a campground and you go day paddle. But I do a lot of multi-day trips also. Number one, never take a good guitar. I mentioned that a guy had given me a guitar, and that's how I started. And since then, I don't know how many guitars I've given away over the years, but I'll find old guitars that beat up, and I've kind of learned to work on them and repair them and try to make them sound halfway decent. And I've given away 6 or 8 guitars that way. But I usually keep one around, and that's what I take on river trips. And I have a good dry bag. You drop it in the dry bag, and you can put, because of the shape of the guitar, it's in its case. On one side of the neck, you might have your sleeping bag, and then your clothes on the other side, and a pad on it, so it gets protected somewhat. That protects it from damage. Now, there was one trip, John Victor and I were on it. We were on the Buffalo River in Arkansas, a multi-day trip, and it never got below 94 degrees. And I never had thought about it. I never backed off the tension on the strings. And on the first night we played music, second night I'm all ready to play, and I get my guitar out, and just a ball of strings, because the glue had came loose and the bridge had blown off due to the heat. So now I've learned that that's another thing, to help protect it.
Now, on that trip, did you still sing? I know you don't like to sing without your guitar, because that's
and there's
the two to go together.
There's a reason for that. I don't have real good hearing, and with the vibration against my chest, I can be on key a lot, or in tune a lot better by having a guitar in my, than just trying to sing. Now, John and I, we did do a week-long trip out in Idaho on the Middle Fork of the Salmon, and every night we sit and played. In fact, the outfitter we went with, he has a picture of John and I on the riverbank playing it in his website, for an advertisement. So I've played a few tunes with JKV on the riverbanks.
Yes. I know I was very appreciative when you did a show for the Foothill Folk Society at Parkview Galleries. That was a great show with you and John Victor there. So, but even just jamming with you at the music stores, places like that, it's always a fun time. Do you have any songs that I know I think you're going to be playing some songs you've never recorded today. Right. Of all the recorded songs, do you have some that are really special?
Well, they're special for different reasons. I know one particular spring, early spring, into the winter, I was stuck. You know, writer's cramp, couldn't think of anything. And I got the bright idea. And I hadn't really intended to do it as a song, but I just said, I was kind of down and blue, and I just wrote down things that make me happy. You know, hearing a baby laugh, watching an eagle fly, you know, spending the day on the river, catching a largemouth bass or a big, you know, big smallmouth. And when I went through that, I thought, you know, I can make a song out of this, and I picked things out. And so that's one of the things I use is what I call list songs. My oldest grandson, who's now 22, but when he was 7 years old, he was up from Florida to visit him. And he had never been fishing, he'd never been in a canoe, and I took him on Paint Creek, and we went out and fished, and he caught some fish. And we were driving home, and he said, "Papa, this is my favorite time of them all." And I thought the same thing. Okay, make a list. What were my favorite times? You know, and from that, I've probably written more songs by just turning off the radio and driving down back roads in my truck and just what I call gawking, looking around, seeing things, listening. Words fascinate me, and I hear people say things, and oh yeah, okay, that'll make a song. You know? And there's all different ways, you know, that trigger, I think, for me to write songs. But I have one that I call my $10,000 song. I don't know if I've ever.
So if a great Nashville singer-songwriter came down and said, "Ken, you got a song for me? This is going to be the song that you give it."
Probably not. I don't know. I don't know that any of my songs.
Keep this one to yourself.
I don't know that any of my songs would suit Nashville. I
Really?
don't. You know, maybe so, maybe no. But and that was a song I wrote for my wife on our 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
in which I
know-
compared 30 years of marriage to a wet, soggy tent.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've heard so many of these songs. I've heard
Stories,
I've heard the Soggy Tent. I've heard Church on Devil's Creek.
Oh, I'm going to do that one.
You want to do that one?
Yeah, by myself.
Oh,
So-
okay. Well, that's a great tune. There are all kinds that are great. If you ever have a chance to see Ken out playing his songs, please do, because you will always remember it. I think you're going to be playing down in Jackson.
We've been talking about
Been talking about
that.
that?
Yeah, a
Okay.
little bit, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really wanted to play out. I'm more comfortable sitting on the riverbank picking with friends. I love music, you know. And I've never really thought of it as a pain. I've always had good jobs. I didn't need to make money playing music, and those that do, I don't want to take their spots, you know. But truthfully, now that I've been retired for 10 years, I'm getting a little bored. So maybe I will start playing out a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Ken. I know
Thank you.
I know you could talk for a long time.
I'm known as a talker.
But what we want to do right now is we want to play some songs, let people have a chance to hear you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ken Willis.
Grab my mandolin.
Okay.
Traveling back Texas to the Crowder family farm, condo stand where soybeans used to grow. Big old super Walmart's one place, a cattle barn. Now we got boutique shops, an ATM, and a brand new stop and go. Petney's Buzz, the general store with Grandpa and his neighbors. Got nails and sugar and sweet corn, seed and popcorn coffee grounds. That old store could not compete with them blue light specials after 50 years. Cagley's grandson had to close it down. And now the weeds have grown as high as field corn and oats. Boarded up the windows, put a chain across the door. And a hand-painted sign says closed and out of business. That's all that's left now of Cagley's general store. And in wintertime, the wood stove and coffee pot were hot. Folks would drop in just to shoot the breeze. And they'd tell stories about touchdown runs and half-court buzzer beaters from local high school heroes that now fade to memory. And now the weeds have grown as high marches on their ways and new inventions. Old things get pushed aside, it happens all the time. Though the changes may be made with the best intentions, I can't help but miss some of the things we've left behind. And now the weeds are grown as high as the field corn in August. They boarded up the windows, put a chain across the door. Big hand painted signs and clothes and outfits. That's all that's left now of Texas General Store. That's all you'll see these days of Texas General Store.
That's a fine one.
Oh, thanks.
That's fine.
Well, John, you ready to
What do you want to do?
let's try Hard Times?
I'm going to step out of the picture here now.
Oh, okay. Hey, thanks a lot, Brian.
Oh, yeah, no
Pick
problem. Yeah.
Oh, you make the picture look better though, Brian.
Yeah.
There's too much shine coming off the head.
My youngest daughter started searching our family history, especially my dad's side down in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, southeastern. And one day I was just on the internet and I saw this article from a newspaper from 1930 that in a little town of Hammond, which was not too far from where my great-grandparents lived, the coal mine shut down. The vein had run out and they shut it down. And I didn't think too much about it, but the next day I thought, wait a minute, 1930, that's the beginning of the Depression. Where in the hell does a couple hundred miners go? There's nowhere to get work. Depression started. So I really got interested in it, and over a period of time I started doing more research, and I found out in the next little town, the railroad yard that hauled all the coal away, they had to shut that down and lay those guys off. There were 2 sawmills in another town that supplied timbers. Those guys all got laid off right in the middle of the Depression. It was hard times, so I thought I can do something with that. Word is out that Elkhorn Coal has finished their inspection. 30 days the Hammond mine will be shutting down. 200 miners out of work here in Letcher County. Look out now, here comes hard times. Brother Charlie went and checked the railroad yard in Jenkins. The hopper cars are sitting still, ain't no coal to haul. And the sawmill in Big Roberts will be shut down for winter. Well, look out now, here comes hard times. Paul said there ain't no easy life up on Pine Mountain. Work from dawn to sundown just to earn your pay. 2 ways a man can make a living on Pine Mountain. Dig for that black coal, farm that hard red clay. Becky said she'd sew some quilts to sell down in the valley. Maybe make a payment down at the company store. But the kids need new coats and boots to wear to school this winter. Look out now, here comes hard times. Grandpa said there ain't no easy life up on the Pine Mountain. Work from dawn till sundown just to earn your pay. Two ways a man can make a living on Pine Mountain. Dig for that black coal, farm that hard red clay. The paper down in Whitesburg said things will soon be getting better. The 3C camp in Pinewood will be hiring men next spring. And I need word right now to get us through the winter. Look out now, here comes hard times. Grandpa said there ain't no easy life up on Pine Mountain. Work from dawn till sundown, just to earn your pay. Two ways a man can make a living on Pine Mountain. Dig for that black coal, farm that hard red clay. Look out now, here comes hard times. Look out now, here comes hard times. Look out now, here comes hard times. Right. This next song, it's kind of unusual. I wrote it because I was angry. I'd been visiting my daughters down in Florida, and I was coming up 75, and I was halfway between Chattanooga and Knoxville, and there was been an accident, and everything shut down. We sat there for maybe 2 hours. It was on a Sunday morning. It was hot. It was miserable. Had to roll the windows down. There's fumes, and I'm listening to gospel music on the radio, and I hear one of my favorite songs that, Life is a Mountain, Like a Mountain Railway, which you told me once that was your grandfather's favorite tune. And the more I listened to it, I thought, life ain't nothing like a railroad. Railroads are organized. So I got a piece of paper out and a pencil while I sat there, and I started scribbling down some verses and things. And by the time I got home, I pretty much had a song written.
Yeah.
You gonna give me a railroad song? Staring at that railroad track, wondering where those rails are gone. Where are those engines headed to when I hear their whistles blowing? Rails are made of steel, they're strong, do not crack. Rocky roads we travel in our lives ain't nothing like them railroad tracks. When a train comes to a crossing, it never has to wait. Bells ring and lights are flashing as it rolls on past the gate. Wheels on the rails are going click and clack. Rocky roads we travel in our lives ain't nothing like the railroad track. And they signaled up ahead, they make sure that track is clear. Engineer just sits there, he don't even have to steer. And if you don't like where you're going, catch a train that's coming back. Rocky roads we travel in our lives ain't nothing like them railroad tracks. Steep ravines and canyons,
rivers running deep and wide. The train runs across a trestle, safely to the other side. You can even ride when the nights are dark and black. Rocky roads we travel in our lives, ain't nothing like the railroad tracks. Yeah, they signal up ahead, they'll make sure that track is clear. Engineer just sits there, he don't even have to steer. And if you don't like where you're going, you catch a train that's coming back. Rocky road we travel in our lives, ain't nothing like them railroad tracks. All rugged mountains, no way to get around. Train runs through a tunnel, ain't even slowing down. Sparks flying from the engine, smoke coming from the stack. Rocky roads we travel in our lives, ain't nothing like them railroad tracks. Yeah, they signal up ahead, they'll make sure that track is clear. Engineer just sits there, he don't even have to steer. Hey, if you don't like where you're going, you catch your train that's coming back. Rocky roads we travel in our lives, ain't nothing like them railroad tracks. Yeah, the rocky roads we travel in our lives, ain't nothing like no railroad tracks.
Thank you.
I don't think you've ever heard this song before, but
I'll just sit here and listen to it.
okay. Well, I've kind of talked about how all these songs were written. Jennifer and I, we'll have our 49th wedding anniversary here in 3 weeks. And I was thinking, you know, what if when I'd first met her, you know, fell for her, and then somehow maybe they moved, I got you know, would I still be thinking about it? You know, how would my life changed? You know, oh, that was going
on. Some warm summer evening, you'll be driving around town. Radio turned off and your windows rolled down. And you'll hear someone singing and playing guitar. Through the wide open doors of the old bar. $2 for a cup, 3 more by beer. Find a dark corner, sit down, and you'll hear some fool playing guitar and singing off key. And you'll realize that that fool is me. It's been a long time. I wonder still, will this hole in my heart ever be filled, or will I go through my life so sad and so blue, writing and singing these songs about you? I'll sing some songs that I've wrote as part of my show. Songs about a love that I lost long ago. I won't mention no names, there'll be no doubt. You are the one that I'm singing about. It's been a long time. I wonder still if this hole in my heart will ever be filled, or will I go through my life so sad and so blue, writing and singing these songs about you. And when closing time comes, I'll play one more tune. You'll finish your beer and walk out of the room. Back to your new life, your family and home. I'll pack my guitar and I'll leave alone. It's been a long time. I wonder still if this hole in my heart could ever be filled, or will I go through my life so sad and so blue, writing and singing these songs about you, writing and singing these songs about you.
A few years ago, I was down in Kentucky fishing and camping and with some friends, and one day they said, well, let's do something different. There were some local guys, and they said, let's go hiking. So they took me down to this place just north of Corbin called Devil's Creek. And that particular day, I don't know if it's always that way, but it was kind of foggy and eerie, and we were hiking along the creek. There's boulders and muddy water. I looked over on the bank, and I saw what looked like a rock foundation, probably of an old cabin. And I thought, but what if that was a church on Devil's Creek? Man, wouldn't that be a great idea for a song? So I came home, and I wrote it in my hook book, and forgot about it. And 7 years later, I just happened to be going through that book and said, hey, I was going to write a song about that. So here it is, the Church on Devil's Creek.
It's a dark and dreary canyon where brave men fear to go. Below them mossy boulders, murky waters flow. And that muddy little stream, it isn't wide, it isn't deep. Always gloomy, always foggy, they called it Devil's Creek. Rugged creek bank, they took rock and stone to make a strong foundation when they built their goddess home. Beam sawed out a yellow pine, hickory, beech, and gum, swore their church would stand until the judgment day would come. Well, all you weary pilgrims, you travelers of the road, want your burdens lifted and someone to share your load. If it is forgiveness and salvation that you seek, you'll find it in that little church on the banks of Devil's Creek. Well, for 7 generations, that old church they came to hear that old time gospel and to praise his holy name. Some got baptized, some got married, some got saved, and some got buried beneath a wooden cross made out of locust log at the Devil's Creek Holy Church of God, where they'd sing, Amen, 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 Amen. Amen, 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 amen. Well, all you weary pilgrims, you travelers of the road, want your burdens lifted and someone to share your load. Well, if it is forgiveness and salvation that you seek, you will find it in that little church on the banks of Devil's Creek, where they sing, Amen, amen.
Thank you.
I want to thank Ken, great songwriter. Appreciate his time. I also want to thank Naz Winery for providing us nice space to record this. And stay tuned for Artists Around You. Follow us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, and subscribe and hit the notification button. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching.